Marhaba and welcome to Free Palestine Pod, the podcast. I'm Lama Bazzari.
And I'm Lina Hadi. Each week, we will bring you in-depth commentary from Palestine.
Let's talk Palestine. Today on the show, we welcome renowned Palestinian multidisciplinary artist Khaled Jarrar, whose acclaimed work has earned him international recognition and awards as he explores the realities and impacts of occupation and modern-day power struggles through artistic interventions, utilizing various forms of media, including performance art, photography, sculpture, installations, and film. Marhaba Khaled, and welcome to Free Palestine Pod. Let's talk Palestine.
Masal khair. Hi, thank you for hosting me.
Khaled, you were born and grew up in Jenin, the epicenter of Israeli daily genocide and illegal raids against the Palestinian people in the occupied West Bank. You have firsthand experience growing up under and living under the brutal Israeli occupation. How much has this shaped and inspired your art and self-expression?
So Jenin, it has deep impact on me always. And I am always I know that I raised under this colonial regime, but it took me a lot of time to understand what it's mean in the international level and how to be able to explain those moments when we were children. We were playing with toys and flying kites, and flying kite was a big competition for us as a kids when I was 9, 10 years old. But when I was 11, the first intifada started, and that was a big junction for me. It was at 11, I need to be 20 years old. Suddenly, I lost all of those 5, 7 years of my childhood and my teens. So I need to act like a fighter. I need to be somebody who fight this aggressive regime, this aggressive colonial regime, to be able to say one word that we are Palestinian, because we were not allowed to say that. So when I came to art, I found that art gave me the strength, gave me that voice. And then Jenin, it's always in my heart, in my conscious also. And I start to understand that those moments in art, it has something to be there, because we need to be strong, we need to be stubborn, we need to be foxy in a way to be able to go around the Israeli occupation when we cannot face them face to face, because they have machine guns, they have live ammunition, so we face them with stones. So when I do art with sculpture, this material touching, it goes to there. When I see the State of Palestine Stamp there behind Lina here, it also goes to that time where we were when I was doing small bracelets, when I was at school with the flag of Palestine, and we make sure to hide them very, very well, because if the Israeli soldiers will catch that small little bracelet with the word Palestine or with the flag, I may go to jail for 6 months, and my father may go to jail for 2 years as an adult. So those things is very essential for me. It was in the beginning, it was really hard to be able to make the connection, but this is the first time that this question really have been asked to me. And I thank you for this question, because I recently start understand the deep connection between now and that childhood.
Khaled, when I first met you in 2011 in Paris, France, I was with some clients and art collectors and buyers, and I walked into Beaux Arts to see who had won the recent prizes, the recent medals that were given by Beaux Arts, les prix. And I see this man up against a wall with a huge Palestinian stamp, which is this very same one right here, behind him, and he's wearing a PLO uniform. Okay, so imagine this. It's 2011 in Paris, France. You know, I've been living in Paris at that point for at least 5 years, and I've never seen anything like this. So I A-line, leave the clients, leave everyone. I A-line straight to Khaled. I have no idea who he is. I recognize the uniform from a mile away, you know, Abu Ahmad, like, I mean, you know, bow down to him. So like, I see the uniform, I say, excuse me, what is this? Who are you? And right away we connected and we started speaking. At the time, you didn't even speak that much English at the time, and definitely not French. And it was one of the most amazing encounters. So given that, I mean, it's such a strong, vivid memory in my brain, but given that, going from being, you know, in the PLO to today, a world-renowned artist, I mean, really a world-renowned artist, how has it been? Like, how have the last 2 decades, 3 decades been for you? How did you make that transition from PLO to artist, and how has it evolved? And how did you become such a famous artist? I mean, it's really amazing. I've watched your career. You know, we're such good friends. I have so much respect for you, but tell us.
So, yeah, after the first Intifada, when things start to cool down a little bit, and there was an Oslo agreement, and I know that now it's a time to harvest what they call like peace, because we were in such a violence for all of my childhood, and now I need to live like as a normal human, like just calm, no shootings, no aggression, no soldiers. So in one day, we used to throw stones at the Israeli soldiers. They shot live bullets at us. Some people get injured and bleeding. The second day, when Arafat and Oslo, they announced the agreement, we carried the olive tree branches and ran after the Israeli soldiers to put that branch inside their barrel as a piece of sign. We were so naive. We were so driven by hope to be free, you know, and then that freedom never left my body. Like, it's like my body is always being occupied by the occupation, occupied by society, occupied by many things. But the main big occupation over my body was this occupation. So we were happy that this occupation is leaving. And then I joined Arafat. Like, it was a dream for me to be a buddy with Arafat. And I had this dream, and I was so happy with that. But little by little, start to understand that this is not my path. In 2002, I get injured, got shot in my leg with 2 dum-dum bullets. And at the time where I was like, start thinking, do I need to keep myself in such a violence? I want to change my strategy, but that was all subconscious. I wasn't having a wise, like, I had some wise movement. I wasn't have a wise, concrete plan that I would be an artist. I was just thinking that I need to change. I need to do something else. I need to find a way to scream through something different, not through guns or through stones. And then I start using the camera and photography as a way of making image, because I want to make an image about my own self. I don't want to keep seeing myself by the West, so Orientalist as we are, as how Hollywood and stereotype image about Palestinians, they always trying to show the negative parts. If there is no negative parts, they will create it to have more dramatic. They always believe Palestine is violence. There is a lot of violence that's being caused by this white colonial, superior colonial regime over us. Europeans are the ones who pushed those Zionists to came to Palestine to kick our grandmothers who escaped from Haifa to other parts, and other grandmothers escaped to Germany or to Europe. So for me, all of those questions, they were always inside me. So then I came to State of Palestine. I said, okay, you don't want us to have a State of Palestine? It doesn't matter. I will create my own state that called State of Palestine. I will not even have it a nice, beautiful object. No, I will also stamp your passports with it. to put you in some of the situation where you will be confronting the occupation with your statement with the State of Palestine. So those kind of interaction between me and my own audience who were participating in this kind of project. So the participant part was very important, to be able to bring people to this place, to be able for themselves to negotiate the power with the Israelis. Why the Israelis are so afraid from seeing the State of Palestine stamp at somebody's passports. This was like a nightmare for them. And I was so happy to be able to provoke them with some ink, few colors on a passport. So for me, it's a success. For me, from inside, I feel really free with my own stamp. My stamp was flying with 700 passports all over air. And people were talking about it. Israeli soldiers were talking about it. Israeli Secret Service intelligence at the Olympic Bridge, they stopped me a few times to kind of interrogate me. After that trip, we met in Paris. When we're coming back, there was, why you were in Paris? Who support you? Who give you money? How you travel? How do you live? Do you want to understand me? I said, I'm an artist. I'm just like, do art. I sell my art. I make my art. What is the issue? But in your art, you criticize us. But in your guns, you kill me and you kill my uncles and my brothers and my sisters. You don't have the right to speak up about what is bothering me as a human. You cannot like really capture my ideas and my thoughts. Mm. This is what I exactly said to the Israeli like Shabak person, intelligence Olympic Bridge in 2011 and 13.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very volatile moment. Yeah, if you remember, Lama. And that was pre-2014 massacre in Gaza. I mean, 2011 was very much heightened complications for the Palestinians. It was a very rough time for us. And has there really been a year to date that hasn't been rough for the Palestinians for the last 75 years? I mean, I don't think we've ever had 1 year off.
But specifically, Jenin, I mean, that's where our iconic journalist, Shireen Abu Akleh, was assassinated last May. And also, the Jenin refugee camp was the scene of one of the deadliest genocides being committed by the Israelis against the residents of the camp during the second Palestinian Intifada. How did this heinous war crime impact you directly?
When I was studying in Arizona, they were like talking a lot and intellectualizing us about like social justice. And that was nice to hear. But when it comes to talk about us as a Palestinian, like being affected by the Israeli occupation, then social justice there has a big wall. When it is about us, Palestinians, no, just it's so like, it never fit to my mind, like how and why colonialists like the European, why they are afraid to criticize Israel. I know the history, I know the Holocaust, I know what's happened. But if you have sympathy for that, we as a Palestinian, we have sympathy for the Jewish who has been massacred by the Nazis, and we are humans, you know. But why you as a European, you pretend you're humans, but when it comes to us, you try to close your eyes. What can I do? And when I say for you what to do, like boycott Israel, then they start being afraid. This is the minimum you can do, to stop buying Israeli products, because whenever you buy it, you give them money and they have bullets and they will shoot me and shoot my kids or my friends or my uncles or my people. It's always affecting us as a Palestinian, but the most difficult part is how to keep your mind stable, how to be able to free your mind, how to be able, it's a non-stop working. It's like a really just keep working to strengthen your emotion and your mind to be able to protect yourself, to be able to live in this place.
What is it, I mean, as an artist, what is it like living in Jenin and living in the occupied territories? I mean, I know you were raised there, but as a practicing artist, as somebody who's actually trying to get a message out, you know, a nonverbal communication, What are the day-to-day struggles? People around the world don't understand that, you're not just an artist like any other artist, you're an artist in occupied Palestine. Tell us a little about that.
We try to create our bubble inside the city to be able not to move so much around the cities and between cities, because there's so many like checkpoints outside the cities and settlers who are, I don't know why, but those settlers, they really, it's their pleasure to kill a Palestinian. It's their pleasure like to just make our life, because there's a fight now over like in the West Bank where the settlers are trying to take all this mountain tops and to control the water and to have like all these pass roads to put us inside like small ghettos. So we try to avoid all of this direct conflict with them. But even though like inside our cities, like they invade the cities, the Israel soldiers invade the cities. So we try to find our ways to live. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's really hard to explain it to European, because if you're not here, you will not be able to understand it. And to explain the whole context and how we live, like we go to nature, we go hiking. Of course, we will face some obstacles and problems, but always that's what is like, what is so special for us, because during this time we are living, we always like live in a circle and a circle and a circle. We never go direct to something. We always go around, and we always find our ways, because we know how to speak to the trees. We know how to speak to birds. We know how to speak to nature. They don't. They come, they cut the trees. And they come, they put walls, and they kill animals. They come and they put like a chemical in the water to poison the field. They come and they throw their sewage water in the spring waters for the Palestinians to kick the Palestinians out. But we always find our ways to live in this nature, because this is the nature that we grow within, and this is the nature that it grows within us.
Wow. I remember a couple of years ago, I think right before COVID, you had gone to the beach for the very first time in many years, and you had taken your two sons, and you had sent me pictures, and you were so excited, and it seemed so bizarre of course for us, living in the West, because if I want to go to the beach, I can just pop in on a train and be in the south of France, or fly to Tunisia or wherever. I mean, all of those obstacles just to have an hour or two of enjoyment. Is it really worth it? I mean, how difficult is it to stay and to exercise your art, and at the same time to live a decent life? Because everything you're describing sounds like somebody who's basically a prisoner within a prison. It's a prison within a prison. It sounds like that, because you don't want to leave Jenin, but yet the settlers still come in and start shooting kids every day in Jenin.
And the army, not just the settlers.
Yeah. And the army. Yeah. I mean, we forgot. We've got the army definitely with the settlers, and now with the new era of Bibi Netanyahu and Ben Giver and all these psychopaths. How do you guys do it? Like, what do you pray? Do you do yoga? Do you practice at a shooting range? I mean, I don't know. There's no shooting range, obviously, but I mean, I go crazy because I run. Everyone knows that I'm a runner, but I run every day because I get so overwhelmed by everything happening in Palestine. But you guys can't even run, I mean, at least I can run. You can't run. How do you live with this day to day? It's got to be so stressful.
Yeah, for me personally, I like to go to the nature and mountains and hiking and mountain bike sometimes. And that's my way to survive here. Those things I love. Going to the beach is exactly like making an art piece for me. When you go to the beach, like especially when you get rejected for a permission to cross the checkpoint to go to the beach, and then you need to find your way to go around the wall, like climb or cross whatever it is to go to the beach. So you need to think about everything, how to sculpture your road to the beach, which road you will take, who will take you there, what kind of fence you need to cut. But it's worth it. Of course, it's worth it. Is it worth it to see my art piece hang there behind you and people celebrating my work, even though I am against like state and nationhood, but they hate it. I like it. It's just beautiful and simple.
Absolutely.
Well, I love it.
Art provides a powerful outlet where words fail, and as a healing power to particularly process traumatic events. Now, children in Palestine and in Jenin in particular, where you're from, experience daily anxiety and trauma inflicted by the occupation and the apartheid policies. I mean, they haven't seen a day of their lives that is not traumatic, and daily, their lives are, they feel it at every single moment of their lives. Now, are there any art workshops or artist-led initiatives that offer a means for Palestinian children to vent and process their unhealed daily trauma that is being offered in Jenin and across the occupied West Bank?
Yeah, there is many. Like there is like in Jenin, there's Freedom Theater are doing a lot of like theater and film trainings. And me myself, I was invited to do like a photography training for 6 months with the new graduate students in media. And my students now, I see them like they themselves like doing their own initiatives. One of them, her name is Rawan, and she's doing, she opened her own theater institution with a small little cafes to invite like kids for drawing and painting and sculpture workshops. And many, yeah.
So there is a
Wow,
venue
that's...
for children to let out and vent this trauma that they see on a daily basis. I mean, it's quite traumatic, and particularly also Jenin, Hebron, where the Israeli settler violence and the army daily raids are just out of control.
Yeah, that's an army. They have a strategy to put fears inside children's mind and heart to control them by fear. That's why they do most of their raid at nights in Hebron and B'Tselem, like an Israeli institution who work for human rights. They spread cameras for people in Hebron in very like conflicted area with settlers to document all the Israeli violation for human rights and children's rights and like some children, like I remember once in 87, 88, like I was me and my other brothers, and one brother was 8 years old, and we were making slingshot, and we were just like playing with slingshot, and then the soldiers saw the slingshot with my brother Ahmad, and they surrounded him like 2 giant soldiers with M16s just came around him, and he peed on himself. That moment, I never thought of it that much because it's my daily life, this is my life. But now, I think a lot of this, how this will affect my brother and me. And I really, it's still like stuck in my mind until now. And this is like those simple like events like that are very aggressive, but this is happening every day and being documented by human rights and being reported for human rights organizations in Europe. And then they just like keep putting them on the sides for later. And we are trying to keep going. We will not stop because there is like, as I said before, like we really know how to speak with nature. We really know how to live with nature. They are trying to destroy our connection to our nature. But this will never end because this is like 1,000 years of DNA of nature inside us. And those people came from a cold countries, from a white European countries to this place, bringing with them like the European urban planning, bringing like even strange trees to plant in Palestine And the nature itself was being distracted and destroyed by those trees, because those trees are different from this nature. Like 2-3 years ago in Jerusalem, two years ago, it was very hot, like the whole mountains was being burned because those trees don't fit there. It was just like by nature because of the heat. And then when those trees were burned, we discovered the ancient way of beds of farming from 500 and 700 years ago that Israeli were trying to hide and to destroy.
Yes, they continue to uproot our olive trees. They're now banning our flag.
Exactly.
So, Khaled, as you know, I'm one of your biggest fans. Everything from the Palestinian stamp to the trees that were uprooted by the Israelis, all of the projects you've done with IMA, Institut du Monde Arabe, all of the exhibits you've had in the UK, all of the work selling your blood on Wall Street, which was just absolutely phenomenal. And Vin was able to catch that on film. And now you have the IDFA Award for Notes on Displacement. Your most recent project is a documentary film, and you just won an award for it in Holland. So we are all following, and we're all huge supporters, and we're wondering what's next. What is your next project?
So now I will just like, because this film, it took like 7 years of my time and life, and it was released at IDFA finally, and it is gonna be tour in many film festivals this year. So this year I will be doing this and focusing on tour and make sure that the film will be distributed and will go with the film, because most of those festivals, they require me to be there for Q&A. Like since 2 years, I'm writing this feature-length film about kind of my life under this surreal life. And so I'm writing it, and I will try to finish the first draft this year.
Okay, wonderful. Is it going to be a major motion picture, like something for Hollywood? Or you don't know yet? I hope so. You know, I'm pushing you for that. You know, I want you to go to Hollywood.
I know that, and I am.
You know that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm there. I'm right there with you. You know that. But that's amazing. I hope that everyone will watch Notes on Displacement. I also feel like
Where would we be able to watch it? Is it when is it going to be released?
It's still like just was released last November in IDFA. And this year we will have like few screenings in March, April, May, mostly in Europe now, in film festivals. And then I don't know exactly where, because we are still like working with a distributor, but we didn't finalize the contract. So we still have, like, we will announce in few weeks about the whole list.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we will be in Dubai soon too.
We would love to host you.
Yeah, I will
here.
keep you posted. Yeah,
Yes.
Of course.
And just a quick question: how has the art scene evolved, in your opinion, in the occupied Palestinian territories?
The art scene, like, you can say, like, it was always evolving, like, but now, because of the mostly like social media in the last 15 years, it's really skyrocketing. And then artists here, they can, because the freedom of mobility and traveling to Europe, it's very complicated for most of the artists here. So then they found their means and their solution in the social media, and they get connected with many like galleries and institutions in Europe. And you see like many young, talented Palestinian artists like showing everywhere. And if they don't have space to show, they just like show over the social media. And that's the beauty of the Palestinian artists. They always like find their way to deliver their voice or their message.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Khaled. We enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much, Tama.
Thank you for joining us this week on Free Palestine Pod. Subscribe, like, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
And be sure to come back next week for a new episode of Free Palestine Pod. Let's talk Palestine.